Today I have a new guest, and I'm excited because I don't always interview doctors. And I rather interview entrepreneurs. Before we begin, maybe you could introduce yourself.
Yeah, so my name's Arthur, or Dr. Yaustra. I'm currently what we call an F3 doctor, so I've done med school, done the first 2 years after med school, and I'm now kind of in an interim year before training where I'm just picking up shifts as and when. I trained in Nottingham, based around the Midlands anyway, from Stoke. And I've started a recent sort of social media, TikTok, Instagram, so getting into that side of things as well.
Okay, I begin with the 11 questions again. How was your childhood?
Yeah, no, I had a great childhood actually. I'm very lucky to have two very nice, loving parents who are still together. We sort of grew up, me, my brother, my parents, sort of in a small town called Stone near Stoke. It's quite a typical childhood, I guess. I had a lot of fun. We did a lot of outdoorsy stuff. Slightly before the iPad and iPhone generation, I guess. I think I got my first smartphone when I was about 16. I loved school. I was quite sciencey as well at school, which I suppose kind of fits for going into medicine, but equally quite liked creative stuff. My mum's an artist and my dad's a musician. So we had a lot of music, a lot of art in our house. My brother's gone down the music path, but I've kind of stuck more academic and gone medicine way.
How come? How come medicine? They're all artists.
Well, no, exactly. If anything, they were telling me not to do it. No, to be honest, it was just something I'd always wanted to do. When I was very young, I just kind of decided I was going to be a doctor, not knowing what it entailed or what it was really. And then when I got to GCSEs, A-levels, and I had to kind of seriously think about what I was going to do, it still just fit perfectly. I really love a sort of people-facing job, talking to people as kind of essentially the main part of the job in medicine. So that fit really well. And I did like sciences. I liked medicine itself, learning about different ways medicines work, just medicine in general, the history of medicine. So it kind of just fit the mold perfectly. So I thought I'd go for it, see how I found it, and I loved it. So here I am.
How's the relationship with your parents?
Yeah, it's really good actually. So I still see them a lot actually. We're only about an hour away. So my mum's currently actually doing a market. With her art, she does a Christmas market every year. She's currently in Haddon Hall, which is only down the road from us. So I've been seeing quite a lot of her lately, going to the market, things like that. And same with my dad. So he's a musician. Predominantly both of them have worked from home for pretty much the majority of my childhood and life. So it's always, whenever I go home, they're always there. So always make it very welcoming. So I have a great relationship with my parents, yeah.
The third question is around money. And it is, I don't know, it differs from every doctor to doctor. How's the relationship with money?
So I think it's not too bad. I've had to be a bit savvy with certain things. So certainly when you start as a doctor, the money, I think, it will vary depending on where you live. I think if you were living in London or in the south, even just things like rent and stuff would make it very difficult to live off a doctor's income initially. However, up in the north or Midlands where I am, it's not too bad in terms of rent and sort of day-to-day costs. So I'm always a little bit careful, try and save a little bit each month. Currently, I'm getting married next year, so me and my partner have been saving up quite a lot. So we've kind of tried to rein things back in with like meals out and holidays, things like that, but obviously save something nice. So tried to be careful, but I was terrible at uni. At uni, it was always like, counting down how far I was from the bottom of my overdraft and trying to literally penny pinch where I could. But no, much better now. Now I'm a bit more mature and have bills to pay.
Okay. Next question is, what are you afraid of?
Ooh, that's a good one. Definitely spiders in a non-existential way. Spiders, I've been watching I'm a Celeb and we were debating if I'd ever go on it. But no, I couldn't because of the spiders. But no, in general, I think afraid from a kind of career point of view as a doctor, I think there's a lot of pressure to excel in your career and become a specialist in something, do research, do things like that. But equally, it's quite nice to not do all that. It's quite nice to just enjoy the job. So one of my kind of fears, I suppose, career-wise, is getting forced into an area or a specialty pathway that I don't really want to do and end up doing that for however many years and then regretting it. So I've taken a bit of time out this year purely just to kind of think about that. I was between paediatrics and A&E for quite a while, and then wasn't going to apply last year because I wasn't quite sure. And now I've applied for paediatrics, which I'm really happy about because I've just decided I like that more. But I think it's the same the whole way through medicine, to be honest. It's always scary, kind of career path you follow. It's always quite competitive, quite difficult. And then also the job itself. There's lots of things that scare me day to day. Doing something wrong, doing something that's not right for the patient. Obviously, you'd never do that knowingly, but sometimes things happen, things change. And certainly on A&E, I was finding that it's very stressful, very high pressure environment, and actually those mistakes are more likely. And it was scary, I suppose. Sometimes when stuff came in, maybe understaffed, very busy department, and you felt like you couldn't do that, what was best. It's one of like day-to-day things, spiders, and I suppose making mistakes, but I try not to. I try to avoid both.
If you were not afraid of anything, what would you do?
Ooh, well, go on, I'm a celeb. No. To be honest, it's a really good question. I think I'd probably keep things pretty similar. I think although I'm scared of these things happening, it doesn't change the decisions I make in terms of careers. And paediatrics, there's a lot of very kind of high-risk scenarios, ill children, dealing with that. I don't think it's changed the fact that I'd go down that path, but it just makes me more wary. So yeah, I don't know if that's a good answer or not, but yeah, I'm not sure how. I don't think I'd change much. But obviously, it'd be nice to go in without being scared. But I think fear is quite good. I think it's good to have a sense of kind of responsibility and things that do scare you. And I think if you are scared, it shows you're probably pushing yourself and doing the right thing.
I will ask you the two direct questions, what you do online and around being a doctor. So there are a lot of students who study a lot and they don't get good grades. So is being a good doctor, does it mean you're a good doctor that you had good grades before? Like, is it really related to how much you study?
I love this question. So absolutely not. So I think actually it's probably the opposite. I think that of all the doctors, and well, most of my friends at uni were med students. I lived with med students. I think by and large, the better doctors are the ones that are slightly less good academically, but better with patients, better with people skills. I think being a doctor, you obviously do have to have a lot of knowledge. It's just huge, the amount of things you need to learn. Everything about the human body, everything that can go wrong, and then how to fix it, and then how those things that fix it work. And it's just there's an enormous breadth of knowledge. I think sometimes people get a little bit too bogged down in that, and they end up doing hours and hours in the library. They end up kind of really burning themselves out trying to learn everything. I kind of accepted quite early in med school I wasn't going to be able to know everything. But what I did want to work on was things like my clinical skills, my people skills, how I am just day to day. The knowledge at the end of the day, a lot of the time, is guided by the local hospital guidance and the guidelines. So actually the knowledge is important, obviously, but you can't really substitute in the people skills, talking to patients. So I would always encourage students in any field, to be honest, but particularly kind of medical professions, to learn the knowledge that they need to, but equally also focus on the non-knowledge based skills of the job as well.
But this is really hard. Like most of the students who start, they're 18 and then they start and they don't really have people skills, or I don't know, skills around or like outside medicine. And if they treat patients, they're just like really like nerd students who just memorize the books and throw out on the patients what they have, like the knowledge they have. So I had in my college really students who were 10 years older, and they were much smarter than us. Like I was started really early.
Yeah, it's a really good point. We had graduate entry medics as well. There was a few. I mean, just to name a few, there was a headmaster. So he'd been a headmaster and decided he wanted a career change. So he was in his early 40s. Quite a few school teachers. There was a banker who, in his early 30s, just didn't, just decided he didn't want to be in finance in London anymore. Came and did a medical degree. And I agree with you. They've got a real world experience and knowledge. A lot of the graduate entry medics also worked as healthcare assistants alongside their kind of prior studies and jobs to get into medicine. And I do think it makes a real difference. So I started med school at 18. And you're right, looking back, looking at how I was when I was 18, the idea of that kid being a doctor, going to see patients, it's crazy. And actually being thrown straight in, I would be an advocate for something like if they perhaps made you for, prior to medicine, you get your place, then for a year, you just, before med school, you perhaps did something like work as a healthcare assistant, work with the secretaries, the receptionists, get an all-rounded approach with the NHS. A lot of my placements, I've done that. So on GP, for the first week of each placement, we did things like shadow the reception desk, shadow the admin staff, and basically every aspect of it to, I think, just get an idea of what's going on behind the doors of the actual doctor consultation. And you're right, people at 18 have no real world experience at the end of the day. They're fresh out of school, straight into one of the most demanding careers there is. So that's why I really put a focus on placement. So we do, first 2.5 years of med school was pretty much all lecture based. And then from 2.5 years onwards for the last half, was kind of based in the hospitals. And for me, this was the opportunity to sort of, but through patients, through staff, get a little bit of world experience, speaking to patients, not just about their symptoms, but about their lives, the jobs they did, and to really just kind of get out there in the world a little bit. So I would always recommend med students to not go into med school thinking, oh, I'm going to be a doctor, I'm the big I am, but actually to get that real world experience. At the end of the day, you're still a child when you're 18, 19, 20. Even now, 26, and I still feel like every day patients will comment on how young I look or things like that. So sometimes you do have to just kind of take a step back and see where you are in the bigger picture, and just kind of not be too cocky, because some doctors are.
Yeah, the second question is, this is really interesting because a lot of students when they apply to universities, they are afraid if this university they apply to is good enough. Does it differ where you study medicine?
So yes and no. So med schools, I think there's about 26. They've added a couple more, so it might be slightly higher. But at the end of the day, the exams you're doing are set by, I think it's the General Medical Council kind of moderate all the exams. So every single med school will get you a medical degree, and no one's going to kind of frown that you got your medical degree from Nottingham, like me, versus Oxford or Cambridge. The difference, I think, comes with the style in the way that the course is taught. So places like Oxford, Cambridge, UCL, Bristol, kind of the more traditional universities are a bit more of a traditional course, so they'll be a bit more knowledge-based. There'll be quite a high focus on academia. So Oxford and Cambridge, for example, is much more academic in terms of kind of further research, things like that, versus a lot of other med schools. Whereas Nottingham, although, we did do intercalated year in the middle, which everyone has to do, there was a lot more focus on clinical skills and placement time. So you'll kind of look at med school courses as which is the most clinical versus the most academic. All of them have a certain level of both, because you have to. So I don't think it really matters where you go for your future career. I've never really heard of anyone not getting a placement or a job because of the university they went to, as long as it's all the same medical degree at the end of the day. But it's just about how you want that course to be. So I knew I'm not a particularly academic learner. I'm much more a practical learner. So I probably wouldn't have got into Oxford or Cambridge anyway, but those were kind of off the cards for me, because I didn't want to be doing the kind of the tutorials, the very long lectures, essays, things like that. I was much more a practical learner, wanted to be in the hospitals doing things. So I just advise people to kind of look at what the course entails and just pick whatever suits them best, really.
Thank you for saying that. Even in Germany, a lot of private universities for medicine are opened. So I have friends who are in private universities, and they say, I wish I was in a public university. And the people who say, I'm in a public university, I wish I would be in a private university, because the service is much better. So I think no one is really satisfied where they are. It's just to see the good.
Yeah, it's interesting, because I don't think in the UK, I think there's one private university. I think it's very small though, and I think they join one of the other universities for clinical years. Certainly isn't a common thing in the UK. But I know you can, there's quite a few people I know who've trained in a few in Bulgaria, Hungary, some in Slovenia, where they've just decided to go to another country to do it. I'm not sure whether that's on a public or private basis. But yeah, in the UK, pretty much have the set ones, and it's all very similar.
Okay, great. So I asked you 2 questions. Back to the direct questions. So this is really interesting. If money is guaranteed for life, for you and your family, and your generation after you, but the condition is you have to choose a job, what would it be?
For me, it would be a paediatrician. So me and my partner said this quite a lot. So during the strikes, for example, for doctors, obviously there's a big pay dispute. And we've kind of said, because a lot of people are leaving the UK to go to Australia, America, a lot of international doctors as well are coming to the NHS and then moving on to America because of financial incentives, just the way the system is. And we've always kind of said that actually to us, I mean, I absolutely love the job. The money obviously does get a bit better as you progress through, which is a bit of a bonus. But on, the money we were on in foundation year one, which was about 28 grand a year, even if I was on that for the rest of my career, I'd still do it because the job itself, I kind of, money's nice, buying nice things is nice, but I mean, the job, I wouldn't really change it. There's things that you could improve. There's things that I would definitely change about the NHS and being a doctor and things like that. But when you actually break it down to the core of medicine, interacting with patients and making, you're seeing people at the lowest point in their life often, sometimes the beginning of their life, the end of their life, and you are the person that's making that change to try and make that a not necessarily positive, but a constructive experience. So I think, if the money's guaranteed for my generation, the next generation, I wouldn't really change what I'm doing. It's never been a massive driver for me. I've always wanted to be comfortable, but being rich and all that doesn't interest me as much as having a bit of a purpose in life and a job that I enjoy.
Dr. Arthur in one word.
Paediatrician.
Excuse me?
What, in one word for the job?
No, in general.
Oh, me in one word?
Because you said something medical now. No, like in general.
Oh, no. I said
in one word.
I thought you wanted me to sum up the job. Oh,
no.
One word. Interested.
Okay. If you have your own heart in your hands, what would you advise it?
So say I want to say again.
If you have your own heart in your hands, what would you advise it?
So I think following on from the interested, I would just say follow what makes you happy. I've always done that. I've always kind of chosen the things that I'm going to enjoy. I want to do. So just say that. If you like doing something, if you like being with a certain person, if you like a certain activity, just do it. Just don't let anything stop you.
What's the best moment in your life?
Oh, single best moment I think was this year. Technically last year. It was on New Year's Eve when I proposed to my fiancée. We met during med school. She was brilliant. She basically got me through med school. She's a bit more academic, so she pushed me for exams, but we both got there. We're both now living together, and it was our 5-year anniversary. We went down to St Ives in Cornwall, and then just as the fireworks went off, we were on the beach. I got down on one knee and proposed to her, and she said yes. Just that single moment, I think, summarises kind of our whole relationship. She's been such a part of my adult life, my medical life, home life. That kind of one moment when she said yes, I thought she was probably going to say yes, but when that happened, if I had to get one single moment, it would be that.
Okay. Any regrets?
So I don't think so. So I think when I look at where I am now, I'm very happy. There's nights, where I've gone out partying in uni where I probably regret having that last drink, things like that. But in terms of big things, I think one thing that maybe I would have considered a bit more knowing what I know now would have been a year out before university. Maybe do a bit of travelling, get a bar job, something like that as well alongside. Just to kind of have a bit of time out of education. I'm having that now really after med school. I'm still working, but I'm not in active training, so I'm not having to come home and study, things like that. But then my life would have turned out very differently. Probably wouldn't have met Lauren, probably would have been in a different world. So it's not a regret, it's maybe something that, if I could squeeze it in and then go back to exactly where I was now, maybe. But no big regrets. I think every big decision I've made in life has been the right one. I'm very happy with where it's turned out.
What makes you you?
I think just a curiosity with everything. So in medicine, I'm always quite keen to learn about new things. At home, my favourite hobby is walking and running, just because curious, exploring, going around, I'm always wanting to find something new, something interesting. And I think the social media was kind of part of that. I kind of was interested to just get a bit of that out there, a bit of medical curiosity. I get to meet new people all the time through social media, which is really nice. Podcasts like this, as well as collaborating with people. So yeah, just I think a curiosity to always do stuff. I'm not necessarily always right. I don't always do everything perfectly, but just that curiosity to do it, I think, is the main thing. So I always think people should be more curious and interested to do stuff, because it does lead you to cool places.
Perfect. We're done.
Brilliant. I very much enjoyed that. Those were questions that got me thinking. Yeah, they were really good questions. I liked that a lot.
Thank you. You're not the only one who say that. It's direct, very direct, short questions.
Yeah.
I will actually, I don't know if you want to say something, go ahead. If not, then we're done. I will edit this podcast and then I will send it to you, even.
I think I should say thank you for this opportunity. It's been a lovely interview, lovely chatting to you and to meet you in person. And yes, the questions really got me thinking, got me kind of looking back, and it's made me quite happy, because I think it made me realise that I'm very happy in the job I do and what I do, and to be able to talk about that and encourage other people to follow that it's amazing. So thank you.
Thank you.